Dear research scholars, postdoctoral fellows, and dear friends, uh, and the students from the UG and the PG classes, we are glad to invite you all for this session on scientific writing. We have Dr. Indumati Somsundaram ma'am with us today, who will take us through the art and technique of writing in the field of research, be it a paper manuscript, thesis, or a poster. When I started my career in research, much exposure to such techniques was not there for me. And I think this session will be useful to the freshers, the aspirants in the research field, and the seniors who have already finished their PhDs and now are in postdocs. It will be helpful for all of us. So we request you all to take the full benefit of this session by asking your questions and clearing your doubts and being interactive throughout the session. I would now like to request Akshay to give a brief introduction for our speaker of the day.
Yeah, thank you, Akash, for the introduction, and thank you, ma'am, for accepting our request to deliver the guest lecture today. I would briefly like to introduce Dr. Indumati. Dr. Indumati received her PhD degree from University of Madras for her thesis on reproductive stem cells. She worked as a postdoctoral fellow at National Institute of Nutrition (ICMR), Hyderabad. Later, she joined as an assistant professor at D.Y. Patil Education Society, Kolhapur, for pursuing her academic career. Her research interests and expertise include stem cells, reproductive biology, and regenerative medicine. She has around 38 peer-reviewed publications, several book chapters, and lab manuals on her credit. She has won Young Scientist Award in an international conference for her research work in 2018. Currently, Dr. Indumati is the founder and director of Hindu's Academy of Biology and Medicine, as well as a content writer. She is an active researcher, writer, tutor, and a good mentor. I would warmly welcome the speaker for the guest lecture and would request her to forward the session.
Thank you, Akash. Thank you, Akshay, for such a nice introduction. And thank you so much for. Am I audible?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am,
So,
you're
thank you
audible.
so much for inviting me for this wonderful session, and really nice to see you all in this platform. So, it's really a great evening here in Kolhapur. It's so good to have you all here, and thank you so much. And can I given permission to share the screen? Yes.
Yes, ma'am,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
can
You
share
can
the
share the
screen.
screen. Yeah. Okay. Also, a special thanks to Athira and the entire doctoral committee members and the students of IIT Hyderabad. Thank you so much, Athira, for staying in touch with me and reminding me on time. So let me just give me a minute. Let me just open the presentation, and until that, I just request all. Okay. I just request all of you to please be interactive. I usually share the screen with Zoom. So this is the first Google Meet. So I have to find my presentation. Just give me 1 minute. Can somebody tell me how can I share this? The particular presentation is in my desktop, but I'm only getting the windows. I'm not getting it to the desktop. I'm only getting it to the.
Ma'am, you can see they're present now down. It is
Present
written.
now.
Yeah.
When I click onto the present now, I am only able to look into those which are in online screen. That is, which is in the windows. I'm not able to see my desktop. Just give me 1 minute.
Ma'am, you
And
can minimize the screen and see.
no, it's okay. I'm just looking into it. Yeah, I got it. In the meantime, can somebody tell me what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of word scientific writing? Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I would be talking about scientific writing after 2 minutes because I wanted to introduce the academy first. But then before that, what is the first thing that comes in your mind when you talk about scientific writing? What the very first thing? Do not think so much. Can somebody answer? The very
Research papers,
Research
research
papers,
research
manuscripts.
paper. Okay. Anything else? Anything else?
data recordings
Thesis.
of the
Uh,
researchers.
Thesis. Okay.
Something
Then
exciting.
something exciting. Yeah, that's a wonderful answer. Then yes, scientific writing is exciting. Then okay, I will again ask this question when I talk about that particular slide. I think that's good. So thank you so much once again to all your doctoral committee members and students of today of IIT Hyderabad. So without much of time, this is all about IABM. Just give me 2 minutes to introduce IABM. See, basically, Indus Academy of Biology and Medicine is an exclusive online platform, and I wanted to introduce a lot of courses, webinars, workshops, group discussions, competitions for the students so that they upgrade themselves and groom themselves towards job research and they develop a particular skill at their doorsteps in 24 by 7. So I created a vision and mission for this particular IABM and it's just 3 months old. I think I've just started this IABM 3 to 4 months before. So the mission of IABM is to really provide quality education for the students which is accessible, affordable, and attainable. And the vision of IABM is to make learning informative, imperative, innovative, and interesting because nowadays many students are learning, but they're not learning with fun. Learning is actually fun. We have to try to learn and engage ourselves in everything what we learn with fun. So that's very important. So we have to make learning interesting. So this is all about my profile and the past events to highlight. We've just completed one weekend webinar series on stem cell biology bench to bedside, and we started the session with a wonderful quiz competition in different category students, and we had around 1200 participants, and then we selected top 10 students in each categories, and that was really amazing, and students enjoyed the session. And this is an ongoing session which is about to be completed today. We had about 10 speakers in session 2 of cancer biology and cancer therapeutics, and this is going to come to end by today. We have this session at 6 o'clock. And we have two ongoing courses. Unfortunately, the molecular biology weekend course have to come to an end way long back, and I was sick in between, so I couldn't complete. So in another 2 3 classes, we would be completing this molecular biology course, and we also have an ongoing CSER Net Life Science GRF batch for 2020, which is rupees 6,000 the course fee, and we have already started the batch, and the batch is ongoing. We would be having this batch till June. We have about, I think, 17 students registered so far into it. And these are the completed courses, stem cell biology and the animal tissue culture short-term course. And now this is something which was interesting. We conducted a competition called Just a Minute. So as being a researcher, I think you all know what is Just a Minute. I gave the students 10 topics and I gave them time to prepare. And among the 10, I asked them to choose any one of the topic from the three which I gave. And on the spot, switching on their video, they'll have to speak. And we selected three top students for the Just a Minute competition. This was a special occasion on behalf of Darshana. Now this is something very amazing and very interesting. I'm so glad that I've come out with a app. So those who have Android phone, please kindly download the particular user-friendly students app because I'm going to come out with very small short-term courses which are going to be from rupees 50 to 500. And it's going to be for all life science students, irrespective of you being a researcher or you being a master student or you being a UG student. It's going to be like benefit for all. And this is just the start, and we've just uploaded one particular course on cancer biology. Unfortunately, this is not available for iOS. So those who have iPhones, this is not applicable. So it's for Android. And kindly follow us on the YouTube channel IIBM Space Online Bio, and please also like subscribe to YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram page IIBM Online Bio. Thank you so much for the kind attention to listen about IABM. Now coming to the actual topic of today. I hope I am clear, visible, and audible, right? If there is any issues, please stop me anywhere. Apart from the answers which you gave, what is the other first thing
I
about
see there
scientific
is a
writing?
huge background noise from your presentation.
The background noise is because inside my home, just a second, I am in my terrace. So, is it okay? Am I audible now? It's just that the movement of the vehicle. Am I audible now?
Yeah, audible, but with added noise.
Okay, I'll just try to. So tell me, what other things that comes to your mind when you talk about scientific writing? What is the other first thing that comes to your mind? Are you, you have some sort of a fear, or do you have some sort of a anxiety when anybody have a sort of an anxiety when you talk about scientific writing? Does anyone have a sort of anxiety when you talk about scientific writing? Yes, no, nobody?
No.
Yeah, a lot.
Okay. So what other things? So many things. Scientific writing is something a big ocean. What other things that comes to your mind?
Ma'am,
Sort of
writing
Writing
our
our
scientific
scientific
research
research
such
such
that
yeah.
that
the
the
public can
public can
understand. So
understand.
that
So
is
that is
something
something
which
which
Yes, you have to write in such a way that the readers can understand. Okay, let's proceed further. So, see, there are so many words which comes to the mind when you talk about scientific writing, because scientific writing is something I write. It's an art. It's the research which you do, and you have to publish it. Because once, if there is no evidence, if there is no recognition of what you write, if there's no recognition of what you do, then it's going to be very difficult for people to understand what is your work is all about, because nowadays without any proof or no evidence things are not allowed. So abstract publishing, and of course you can see a word boring. Yes, scientific writing for some people it is boring because we keep writing on and on and on, we keep revising, we keep rethinking, and then yes, we have to go through a lot of literature. It's little dull. It's also very interesting, and it's mathematical, and it's an art. I can see scientific writing is an art, and it's a very important quality of a researcher. It's very important quality of a scientist, right? Now, a very quick introduction about what is scientific writing and why students feel difficult about it. See, scientific writing is an art. Whatever all these things which you have seen over here, but then I would say scientific writing is an art, because you have to, like, how an artist explores himself when he paints. So we have to really explore the ways and means of scientific writing, and that is definitely an art. Now, what is happening is, what is very important is a well written and well formatted work is very important, because see, you are a wonderful researcher. Imagine that you've got a wonderful result, you've analyzed your data, you've kept everything ready with you, but you do not have art of scientific writing. You're not able to express your data, you're not able to interpret the results in very good form. If you're not able to interpret your results in a very good form, then you, if the paper is about to get published in a, say 10 or above 10 impact, definitely because of the lack of proper scientific writing, the paper gets published at least in 5 or 6 impact. So it's not about only the research part, which is very important. It's not about your interest in your technical skills, or it's not about your working ability. It's equally important that you have to know to represent the data in a very simple, lucid, effective, and interesting manner. And many students, what they do is, I just really like, use this word because they feel like, they just put all data that is getting into the mind. Because once you put all the data which is coming into your mind, there are two problems. The first problem is there's a flow of information is lost, because it's a story. You have to ensure that the scientific writing develops in the form of a story. So when you're not making the scientific writing in the form of a story, what happens is the connectivity is lost, the flow of information is lost, the link between the story is actually lost. Another very important problem is they keep writing and writing and writing. They're very good in writing. But the other second issue the students face is they write pages and pages, but whatever the important crucial data that has to be included was or to be missing. So it's very important to understand that when you're writing, you have to write like a story. You have to write things that it's an art. You have to maintain the flow of information. You have to maintain the connectivity and ensure that you are including the data which are very crucial. You are including the data which are of importance, and it has a scientific endeavor as well. Now, despite all this, how does the diligent student of science avoid these pitfalls? How are they going to do it? Because it's just by learning. Everyone, practice makes a man perfect. Keep writing. The more and more we write, we are going to learn. So let me introduce these two wonderful comic. I'm sure that all of you would have experienced this. See, the first thing says, I made a few tweaks to the draft paper you sent me. And then the student says, you rewrote the entire thing. So the guide says, yes, it's easier for me to rewrite it than to point out all the things that you did wrong. So what are we demonstrating? This guide says that you are a bad writer. So this is what happens, like when we write something initially. Definitely, I'm sure that we would have come across that in our initial phases, because when we are writing something, definitely our guides don't like it because they are more experienced and we are just learning. So we can see a lot of red marks. Do you agree with that? Anything and everything we write and take it to our guides, we can see a lot of red marks. with. Have you experienced that? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So this is what which is 90% of the PhD students' life. This is very common. And second thing is also very common because I just took this cartoon because I love coffee. Coffee is something one of my favorites. See, when you it's like the quality of coffee consumed and closeness of writing deadline. So what we do is when we initially start something, we get it completely involved. So the quality of your writing initially when you sit will be like a freshly grounded imported coffee from the fancy shop. That much flavor you add into it, and slowly the pace goes off. Then what happens, the bad coffee machine down the hall, and then it's still, yes, leftover coffee, and then we finally get into the instant coffee, which means what is this cartoon depicts is that the more and more we keep writing, the interest which we show in the starting of the pages completely like goes down till the end of the writing. So we start scribbling, we start losing the interest. This is what is happening when we write an exam. Imagine when we are taking up a 3-hour exam. Initially, our handwriting used to be very good, and off late, when we see in the last few pages, we'll be totally we even don't understand what we. So this is something very common thing of what is happening in students' life. Now, under scientific writing, in today's session, we're going to discuss thesis writing, we're going to discuss manuscript writing, and I'm going to also discuss poster presentation, because this is something very important. Being a PhD student, you have to understand. Poster presentation session is just very small part which I will focus, and I'm just going to give you outline of the poster, which is a good poster, which is a bad poster, and how we have to give our posture, and what is very important to include in poster presentation. So now, since you are all into a PhD, it's very important to understand what is a PhD, because many students, I've come across so many students in life where some of the PhD students get into PhD out of interest. Some of the PhD students get into PhD out of compulsion. Some of the PhD students get into PhD because of fame, name, or some of the PhD students get into it because everyone like they wanted a doctoral degree. So there are two school of thoughts where people really love to get into a research life and they do it. There's another category of people where they feel they just got into PhD but they don't want it to do it. So this is just about what exactly is a PhD and what PhD students have to do and what will happen, which everyone. A good scientific writing. See, the scientific writing has specific things which needs to be definitely met. So those things which needs to be definitely met whenever you're writing something and once you're done with it, when you do not look into these qualities once you begin with, but look into these qualities once you complete it. So once you complete your scientific writing, ensure if it's really structured in a logical way, if it's precise, if it's simple, and if it's lucid, and if the particular writing is having some evidential analysis, are you able to prove your writing? Is it evidence based, and is it really unbiased? And most important is it objective oriented, and it is understandable? And the most important point is it has to be repeatable if it's a experiment, and it has to be reproducible also by others. So repeatability and reproducibility is also very, very important quality of a scientific writing. So we should not keep these things and start your writing. Keep writing. And once you keep writing, once you're done with any of the article, whether it be a review article or it's going to be a chapter of the thesis or it's going to be a research article or it's going to be just a abstract what you're making for your paper, or let it be the synopsis for your PhD presentation. Write anything and everything that you write. At the end of your writing, please ensure that whether these are the qualities which are met in your writing. Now, there are a lot of qualities of a great researcher. A great researcher, every PhD student is a great researcher because that is the period where you do a lot of research. Because once you complete your PhD, once you complete your postdoc, and once you get into a position, it's going to be your students who are going to work, right? You now become a guide and your students are going to work. So the only prime period where you're actually struggling or actually working hard to do the experiments or trying to get the results or trying to get the data done is the period of PhD. So do not feel bad about it. Think the positive things into it. The 4-year period or the 5-year period which you're going to struggle is going to make you a good scientist, and you're going to end your life forever being a good researcher or a good scientist. So this is the period where you need to work hard, and this particular self-motivation will help us work all time in the laboratory, right? So the great researcher should have a good knowledge about the literature. He should have a good scientific ideas. He should have good science communication. He should be a good scientific writer. He should be a good mentor. He should be a good previewer, and so on and so forth. Now, what are the qualities? How you can prove yourself to become a good researcher? Of course, yes, experiments, yes, you have to have a good research plan. You have to work on the experiments. You have to get analysis. That's all fine. But when it comes to writing, how you can prove yourself as a great researcher, all you need to do is plan your study, jot, make a synopsis of it, write whatever you feel like writing. Then once you completely write it, try to revise it. And what we do is, we love ourselves so much. So if we write pages and pages, we feel reluctant to edit those points, because usually what we feel is like, I've taken 4 hours or I've taken 5 hours to write this particular script. Despite knowing this, say for example, you have to remove the entire 2 pages from the writing. Most of us do not do. Why we do not do? Because we feel, I've spent 5 hours to write these 2 pages. Now I feel that these 2 pages are irrelevant to my writing, and I have to completely edit it or delete it or reframe it. Still, because of this time spent on that, we feel reluctant and we feel, somewhere somehow let us keep in that. Somewhere somehow let's get into this. Somewhere somehow let's ensure that this is included, and that is what is making the particular writing bad. So be very stringent, be very strict in editing your own manuscript, be very stringent and very strict in editing your own thesis, be very stringent and very strict in editing your own script, whatever you're writing. Because when we write it, definitely we feel like, yeah, I'm happy with what I'm writing. But that is not right. Please do not do that. Ensure that you revise the script and you rethink and then you rewrite. So this cycle, it's like a cell cycle. This cycle has to be in your mind completely. Now coming to the thesis writing, the origin of thesis is like this. When we get into the thesis writing, we look, see how smart this guy looks. So when we get into the thesis writing, we look so good. We look very fresh. We look so happy because we have completed the data. Now we are into the writing part. And then, okay, it's like slowly, this is how it becomes. And finally, we get exhausted, we get fatigued, and we make pages of pages and we submit it to our guide with a very exhaustive manner. And now, this is very important. Writing your thesis outline. Yes, nothing says I'm almost done to your advisors. Yes, spouse and parents like pretending you have a plan. So what you can understand is, it's just a comic which is representing, I wanted to just represent this particular scientific writing in a very interesting way. So I've included some cartoons from phdcomics.com. And for self-motivation, you can also look into a lot of cartoons available in phdcomics.com. See, aim for a respectable number of chapters. So you plan your thesis outline, make your chapters. But the beauty of it is, when you're making the thesis outline, finally we feel like, okay, when you're including the fifth one, you feel, that's it. Then when you're including the sixth one, like, not bad. When you're again including, when your writing gets added on and on, we become crazy. Yes? Okay, then fill in the freebies. So the thesis outline, whatever you're doing, common thing is what? Introduction, review of literature, methodology, result, discussion, conclusions. Now, you do not know what is going to be your result. You do not know what is going to be your discussion. You do not know what's your conclusion. But many PhD students, to reduce the burden of thesis writing, all you can do is start writing your introduction from the beginning. Introduction is going to be the same whether you write the first year or whether you write the third year. Introduction is going to be the same. Literature of review is going to be the same. And methodology is, of course, going to be the same. Based on the experiments which are edited, it will vary. But then, to my knowledge, many of the students do not do this. They do not write their introduction and review of literature in the start. And that is how you get pressurized. And we spend hours and hours to write our thesis at the end. Make up titles for the meat chapters. Yes, this is very important. This is what you need to do. Yes, the fourth one, you can see the stuff you did your first year. Stuff you are supposed to be done now and make a stuff up for the future. So that your entire thesis has a plan. It's like how a teaser comes before the movie comes. So you have to make your teaser. Once your teaser is done, you yourself gets into it. You yourself get into it. You gain your interest and you start getting into it. Yes? So how is your thesis going on? And about 2 years, he says, I have an outline ready. This is very fair. Do you all agree with me? When somebody asks you after 2 years of your PhD, when somebody asks you, how is your thesis going on? And all the answer all PhD students we have is, I have an outline ready. After 2 years also, we only have the outline ready. Yes? Have you experienced it?
Yes.
Experienced it?
Yes.
Yes? So this is what's happening. That is why we get pressurized, and at the end, and finally, the beauty is, many of the students, if you see, even after 2 years, finally we end up in changing our entire PhD topic. So this such crazy things happens only in scientific writing. Now another wonderful thing, very fact. This is the fact of the PhD student's life, which I'm representing over here. You can see the first cartoon. I want you to know, I expect all my, the guide says, I expect all my students to be in the lab during regular working hours. So the student says, do you mean 9 to 5? Because 9 to 5 is a regular working hours for any student, for any professional person, or 9 to 6. The guide says, I mean 6 a.m. to midnight. The, but my stipend is only 20 hours a week. See, the stipend what you get could be for 20 hours a week or 24 hours a week. It's not a day, 20 hours, 24 hours a week. But the student in his PhD life stays day and night in the laboratory. That is the fact, and that is what the student's life is for the entire PhD period. So this is the fact. Another very interesting comic. As the definition, the second comic says the definition of as early as possible in the student's version and definition as early as possible in the professor version. See, the as early as possible in the student's version is the professor says get this done as soon as possible. And the translation version of the professor's mind voice is you should have done it. He says get this done as early as possible, which means he feels before even he say you should have done it yesterday. That is the meaning of the professor version of as early as possible. Now the professor version of as early as possible for the students. I will review, the student is submitting a review article and the professor says I will review your paper as soon as possible. Now in professor's version of translation, as soon as possible means he will get it done in next century. So this is pretty common, and don't you think this is a fact?
Yes.
This is a fact, and have you experienced it? Yes?
Yes.
Yes, even I've experienced it. Now coming to thesis writing. Very important thing for thesis writing is you have to formulate a research problem. Okay. So I'm not see, instead of review of literature, I can say I've given here as motivation and related works, because review of literature seems boring. Review of literature seems very elaborate, and review of literature is the toughest job for a scientific writing, I can say. So let us take it as a motivation, let us relate our work, and let us take it as a motivation. Let's do the experiments and discussion and conclusion. Now, when these are something, the 6 steps which are involved in scientific writing. Suppose you show this to an outsider who's a non-scientific writer or a non-PhD student. This is very simple. Okay, all you need to do is you have to, step 1, find a topic. Step 2, arrange the supervision. Yes. Step 3, write the research proposal. Step 4, whatever proposal you have written, you have to do your research. Done. You have done with your research. Step 5, okay, whatever data you've got, you just have to interpret into it and you just have to write the thesis. Do it. And step 6, assessment, which seems very simple. It's very simple to see. It's very simple for a non-researcher. It's very simple even for our guides. The guide says, yes, this is all you need to do. And the guides call the student and say, this is all you need to do. This is your topic, arrange the supervision, write the proposal, submit the grant, get the grant, do the research, write your thesis and submit it. As simple as that. So this is an outsider's point of view. But in the student's point of view, it's very, very difficult. And all you aim in your mind is this, all the doctoral degree that you're carrying forward. And just for that particular day of your Viva, for just to get that particular 2 words, yes, before your name, call yourself as a doctor. All you need to do, you have to struggle, you have to work hard in those period of time. And though these are going to be hard times, you still have a lot of experience from that. You still have a lot of learning from it. You still have a lot of things which you will come across. And this particular book I've written, it's a very nice book. It's written by Kate Cherabian, a manual for writers of research paper, thesis, and dissertation. If somebody happens to buy this book, you can definitely buy this book. It's a wonderfully written, well version of not only research papers, but also research paper, thesis, and dissertations. And finally, we come out with such a huge compilation. And the beauty is, we keep writing and writing, in these 5 years, we would definitely have such a huge compilation. The difficult part is not compiling the long data. The difficult part is you have to compile all these huge data into a small pieces. You have to cut down. Writing elaborately is not important. Writing elaborately is easy. Whatever the data you have elaborately written, you have to concise effectively and very lucid manner. You have to concise and present it in a small pieces, which is going to take a lot of time. Now, why I say motivation? Why motivation is important? Why you need motivation for writing? Because the purpose of scientific writing is to communicate to the community. So why there is a motivation needed? Because you are recognized by the community. See, you are somebody today. You and I are just sitting in our place, sitting in our lab, and you're doing the work. But tomorrow we're going to be recognized to the community. So this is something very important. That is why we have to motivate ourselves, saying that today I'm not known to anybody, but tomorrow the entire world is going to recognize me. Entire world is going to recognize my paper. Entire world is going to like cite my article. They're going to tomorrow you might be called for a job or called for the postdoctoral fellowship or called for the position of scientist in any particular laboratories, right? So this is very important. Another very important is to contribute the advancement of your knowledge. See, knowledge is power. You have your knowledge. Who knows that you are knowledgeable? Who knows that you are talented? Who knows that you are such a very, great, you have such a caliber, you have such a capabilities. Unless and until you publish your papers, unless and until you write, either you publish in the form of your research article or you at least publish in the form of a book. Or to start with, being a PhD student, you may not be getting into the books, but you may have the opportunity to write book chapters. Do not leave the opportunities of any writing. See, this is what slow and steadily you get recognition. You get an opportunity to present your paper, go ahead. You get an opportunity to present your poster, go ahead. You get an opportunity to write a book chapter, please go ahead. Unless and until your guide doesn't stop you. Right? It's very important. Now you should have something important enough to share with others. You cannot keep just writing. This is not a story, this is not a novel, just to keep writing. You should really have something to write scientific writing. What is the key important thing that you have to remember in mind for the scientific writing? You should definitely have new ideas because this is very important. Outdated ideas nowadays, getting paper published is very difficult. So you have to ensure that your ideas are new. You have to ensure that the facts or the data which you have is new. And you have to really ensure that you have the intelligent about the old facts. Because when you're writing it, you have to compare your data with the other articles. So you definitely should have, this is my hypothesis, this is my idea, and this is how the existing literatures are. So how you can modify, manipulate, or modulate your particular ideas and thoughts novel as compared to the existing, that is very important. Now, why I have written here as a mature results. The mature results is the results where the research milestones are complete. Most of the time, what happens in our PhD period, we will have a timeline. Thank God. We will have a timeline. We will have a milestone. How many of us really stick to those milestones? It's very difficult because our timeline keeps changing. Suppose we say, first 6 months I do this, next 6 months I do this, next 6 months I do this. There could be any issues. There could be there could be a chemical which is not got. There could be an instrumental flaw, or there's an instrument which you're searching is not available in your institute. Of course, IIT has everything, but I'm talking in general. There could be an instrument which is not available, or you may not get the results properly, or your cell line would have got contaminated. For so many n number of reasons, our milestones, our timelines are not met. So we have to ensure that our milestones and timelines are met, and we can articulate that particular research, and we can clear problem statement solutions and contributions to that particular discipline. So this is very important. Now the types of papers which forms the part of the thesis. It has to be a breakthrough study. Yes, it has to be groundbreaking. You have to have some inventions into it. That is what is. See, that doesn't mean you have to discover something. It has to have some inventions into it. It should have some progress, right? It's very important that it should have the progress. You cannot just repeat what is already done. It should have a progress, and definitely yes, it should add value to the public. It should have a survey. It should add value to the public. It should have a framework. It should have a something which is reproducible, and it should definitely unifies a specialized subject which should authenticate. So all these are something very important that you have to be very careful when you're writing the papers as a part of your thesis. Because nowadays what happens is when you're publishing 3 or 4 papers, those 3 4 papers together compiles your thesis, right? So it's very difficult. It's very easy, but it's very easy to compile a thesis from research article, but it's very difficult to compile the research article. So nowadays, students are not focusing on thesis, but students are focusing on manuscript writing, because once your data are published, all the research articles are put together to become a thesis. So students are more working towards writing a manuscript than writing a thesis. Now, the very important thing is the motivation to publish. Why you need to publish? There are a lot of things. See, I'm not talking only about a PhD student. I'm talking anything and everything that you publish. Suppose I'm an author and I wanted to publish. There are a lot of reasons why I wanted to publish. So there was a survey done, and these are the different percentages of the choice of publishing. 54% the first choice was defenders. 20% they published because of career prospect, and 13% they published because they wanted to improve their funding, and 9% published because of ego, which means My colleague has published an article, so I should also publish. My particular friend is published an article, but I'm a PhD student. So far, I have not published any article, so I have to publish an article. So some of them publish for patent protection, and there are so many other reasons. There are 5% of the reasons nobody knows. Like, there are a lot of other reasons, but publication is whatever the reasons you are. Publications are very important. This is the fact for all PhD students. See, we have a lot of things in our brain. You know, we being a researcher, our adrenaline is so high that we are into our first year of the PhD, and we have a lot of things in our mind. Your brain works faster in the first year of your PhD. You get excitement because you're getting into something interesting. Your new friends, your new ambience, the laboratory, the guide. So you keep thinking, you are in super excited state, and you have a lot of things in your brain. The problem comes when you transform the things which is in your brain into writing. Have you experienced this? We have a lot of things in our brain, but when we are trying to express this in the form of writing, we have difficulties. Yes or no?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
We have a lot of ideas. We have a lot of hypotheses. See, we can today if you sit quietly, I want all of you to practice this out of interest, just for fun. You can do it by yourself. Just sit calm whenever you find time. Sit calm. Sit for 1 hour, and just think about something. Think about a new study. Think about a hypothesis. Think about an idea of whatever work you are into, any field of science which you are doing your research. You would get n number of thoughts. You would get n number of ideas. What if we mix this particular solution with this? What if we actually try to inhibit this particular? What if we use this particular compound instead of that particular drug? Or what if we use this particular optimized concentration instead of that? And are we going to get this result 1, 2, 3, blah, blah, blah? But when it comes to interpretation, when it comes to actually put into practice, or when it comes to writing, it's going to be a real eternal struggle. And it's going to be a puzzle because you put all together and then you're interpreting in the book is pretty difficult. So now what is the importance of the abstract over here? Abstract communicates the results of thesis, right? Abstract plays a very, very, very important. The abstract structure. See, abstract is different and abstract structure is different. Abstract is something of 250 words, but to write a 250 word of abstract, you should have an abstract structure, which is first make a title, running title, make an abstract structure, and then you elaborate into an abstract. Then writing abstract is going to be easy. And these are the things which is very important that to be in abstract. You should have a background. You should have the focus and innovation represented or a novelty of the study. You should clearly emphasize what the particular problem is, and you should emphasize what are the methods you carried out to get a solution for the problems, and finally, what are the results and conclusions. Okay. Now, this is something which is everyone knows components of the chapter: title, introduction, method, results, discussion, acknowledgement, reference, and appendices. And the purpose of this are given here, which is a very simple thing which needs no explanation. So I think that this is the order that every researcher or every PhD student gets into. What is important in introductory session? Introductory session, the first thing that comes to our mind is in introductory session, we have to give a background. Giving a background to the introduction is very, very important. And you have to ensure the reader gets motivated with your introduction. That is more important. The reader has to get motivated with the introduction. This is something very important. So how are we going to make it interesting? It's like how the story, you have to develop a story. You have to create a background which is very interesting. You have to emphasize the problem in your language. So the reader definitely gets motivated. See, most of the paper, the manuscripts, the reviewer only looks into the introduction, the discussion and conclusion. Nobody looks into the other parts of it, right? So it's very important. Introduction plays a very important role of the thesis, or it plays a very important role of a manuscript. And defining the general concepts and terms are very important. You know the concepts, but you have to ensure I'm a layman, I'm reading your paper, so I should be ensuring that these are the concepts which are clear. And it's very important to describe a problem, and you have to argue for the approach taking, which means you have to define a problem and you have to like create a story. Okay, now I'm here, now this is the problem of the study. Now when I write this particular problem, when I'm finding this problem, I'm arguing. See how do we argue with people? We argue so much. If there is one issue, we give them suggestions: solve by step 1, solve by step 2, solve by step 3, solve by step 4. So this is all the ways which you're taking all the efforts and approaches to solve it, and then you're relating compared to the other works. Like, say so and so etal publish this paper, whereas if I modify his study and do this particular work, I would be getting this. So and so publish this. So this is very important, and summarize the structure of the chapter. This is very important. When you're writing an introduction, your introduction should define the entire chapter. This is very, very, very important. And the most important thing is No results, no methodologies, no findings should be a part of introduction session, which is completely unaccepted. Do not include any results, do not include any findings, do not include any methodologies because it's going to be your introduction. So this is not to be included. Please ensure that this is not done. Now this is common. This is common when you're writing an introduction of thesis or writing an introduction of manuscript. But when you're specific towards writing a manuscript, there are few things which are very focused for introduction in a manuscript. You have to clearly, it is like, see, more or less similar. Writing a thesis and writing a manuscript is more or less similar, but there are very few. So problem being investigated, the background that explains the problem. Then you have to give a justification, rationale for conducting the research is very, very important. Why have you chosen this particular topic? The choice of reasoning. Why have you chosen this particular topic? What is the existing problem? What are the different solutions that have been focused before? Yes, what are the limitations into it and what is that you are doing to improvise it? All these are very important. And most important is, that is what I said, state how your work differs from published work. For you to state how your work differs from published work, the most important thing is you are to compare the articles. How is your experiment going to differ? Yes, see, when somebody is watching a movie, like say there is a hero A and hero B. Like people say, hero A movie is like this, but then hero B was this, that. Like create a story in your mind. This particular person did this. Okay, this particular person did this. This particular person did this. Now I am modifying this. So how am I going to interpret my particular data in comparison to A, in comparison to B, in comparison to C? And most important of scientific writing is what? Ask questions. Why, where, how, when. Unless and until you ask questions to your study, there is no beginning of scientific writing. It's like identifying the question that you're answering is equally important and creating question is equally important. You are writing something, start writing, start thinking. Why, where, how, what, when. So many questions will come into your mind. And once you start answering all the questions, your outline is already ready by then. So this is something very important. Keep questioning every point of time. Why is this happening? Okay, suppose you're trying to do an experiment with some optimized concentration, and if the particular concentration has become toxic, then usually people go sad. A student goes sad and then he has to repeat the experiment. Now this concentration is toxic. Okay, throw it. I'll repeat it. No, think. Why has it become toxic? What is the toxicity level of this? What was reported earlier? I checked the research article and then I chose this particular optimal concentration. And despite that, still it is went wrong. So what could be the reasons? Analyze it, rethink. Probably from that particular analysis, from that particular questions, you may come out with a new paper. You may come out with a new finding. So nothing in laboratory can go wrong. If anything goes wrong, analyze the wrong thing to get the right one from it. This is what many students do not do it. So this is very important. And describe the experiment, hypothesis, research questions, and experimental design. Yes? Now, the most important thing is nowadays everything has become interdisciplinary. Do you agree? Now, everything has become interdisciplinary. Being a biologist to combine with a chemist is important, combining with a physicist is also important. Because many of us are doing an experiment which involves X-ray crystallography, X-ray diffractions, or many of us are doing, a biologist are doing an experiment which involves TEM, a biologist are doing an experiment which involves SEM, biologists are doing an experiment which involves UV spectrophotometry, biologists are doing an experiment which involves FTIR, mass spectrometer. Do you agree with me? Yes? Yes? And
Yes,
all
ma'am.
these are under the Department of Physics. So working, writing an interdisciplinary thesis is very important. Biologist on one side, physicist on one side. And those who are doing this interdisciplinary study between the biology and physicist go mad. So biophysics. So this cartoon actually represents how interdisciplinary thesis writing is very difficult, because you have a biological concept, you have a physical concept, and you have to now merge into it and you have to make it into a biophysical concept, which is an art. Now coming to the main body of it, see, this is something, please look into this particular cartoon. We write everything, and when you start reviewing it, the pages and pages, you start reviewing it, and finally we feel we don't understand what we write. Have you come across this? I have experienced this a couple of times. You write everything, and when you read it, what you have written, you will feel like you don't understand anything. Have you experienced this? Have you experienced this? What I've written? Have I written fine? Have I written what is need to be written? Have you experienced this? Yes? No?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am. Yes. So this is just two representation that the researcher is going to a doctor And he says, you've got to help me. I can't read my own writing. So that's how it becomes. So the main, this just to keep your pace active, I've just included a few cartoon pictures. So the main body results in discussion. The section organization reflects how you arguments unfolds. This is very important. So this is your argument is what you've given the argument in introduction. Now you have to unfold those arguments and you have to justify your answer to it. So each section should have a main point. Each paragraph should have a main point. Yes, look at exemplars in your field and summary and conclusion. Tell them what you have told them. What do you mean by this? Be firm in it. See, what do you mean by this? Tell them what you have told them, which means you be firm that whatever conclusion you have given is given. This is right. This is what I need to do. So be firm in what you do. And some people, this is very important, as I told you, some people only read abstract introduction conclusion. So by just reading into your abstract, by just reading into your introduction, and by just reading into your conclusion, many reviewers either give a manuscript for major revision or they reject the paper because they don't have patience to get into it. So what is your focus to be on? You have to ensure, you have to be very focused that your abstract speaks, your introduction speaks, and your conclusion speaks. That is why in conclusion it's very important. Tell them what you have told them. Be very firm into it and be very sure that this is what is the result. Yes. And again, yes, relate back to general areas also sometimes and introduce your future work. This is very important. When you're concluding it, you have to, whether you do it or not. See, honestly, I'm being practical. Honestly, if you are doing into a PhD, when you're getting into a postdoc, if you're getting into the postdoc of the same field, then yes, you are going to do this particular, you carry forward this particular work into your postdoc, then yes. Whether you're doing this work in future or not, still every work should have a future perspective. You have to make the reader understand, yes, after this, you're definitely, you have to engage in such a way, after this, I'm going to do this. This is my future perspective. And once you have done the in vitro study, you have to do your in vivo study. And once you've done the in vivo study, you have to do these experiments to prove that, tumor angiogenesis is targeted or whatever is your study. The stem cell can work for blood vessel disorders, a stem cell can work for this, and or you can say you have targeted a particular gene or your microRNAs. These are the microRNAs which are focused anything and everything. So I'm going to extrapolate my studies to so and so. This is definitely must. Whether you do it or not, you have to be confident of writing the future perspective. Coming to figures, there are few things which is very important to understand when you're making figures in the thesis or manuscript. Many a times draw your own figure. What do you mean by drawing your own figure? Create a hypothesis, create a structured abstract, draw your own figure, try to create a graphical abstract. You draw your pictures. Like for example, I forgot to include that, but I have a thing which we have created a hypothesis where we are trying to target stem cells for targeting angiogenesis. So we created a structured abstract. Like, okay, this is now an angiogenic disorders. We took a disorder of cardiovascular problem, then we tried this, then now that is why I said scientific writing is an art. Use the PowerPoint Smart Act or any of those tools and draw your own figures. Having your own figures in a review article or research article is going to increase your capabilities, thereby increase your attention to the readers. So draw your graphs. Do not copy from published papers. Draw your own figure. Draw your own graph. And very important, suitable figure caption mentioning all the details of the figure. Yes, and calculations. Should be very important. Whatever, suppose you're weighing something, you're giving something, you're doing something. So it's very important to understand the average size and significance in the significant figure needs to be mentioned. Yes, yes, and most important, the calculators have more than 8 digits, can be up to nanograms. So when you're talking about the sizes, you have to be very important. And especially when you're working on SEM, because again, accuracy of the micron size is very, very important. And finally, acknowledgement. Either you take references from internet or references from book or references from thesis or references from any review article or references from any research article. Yes, it is very important to acknowledge. So these are very prime thing that has to reflect in your figures. Now, whether you're writing a thesis, whether you're writing a manuscript, whether you're writing anything, there are n number of mistakes that a student does. So I've just highlighted a very few mistakes which a student does. Usually, commonly what student does is, suppose you're working on SEM, because we just spoke about it. Directly in your abstract, you will introduce SEM. How do I know what is SEM? Because the readers, whether I know or not, still you have to say scanning electron microscopy in brackets SEM. So anytime that you're introducing the abbreviation for the first time, whether in abstract or in introduction, it is very important to write it fully, then abbreviate it. Why this is very important? Because how do people know How do I know whether this is what is your abbreviation? So please do not do that mistake. This is very silly and very common mistake people do. Writing abstract in present tense. Yes. You fail to number the pages. Yes. Okay. And unacceptable use of abbreviations, acronyms, and chemical formula in the title of the article. Avoid any unacceptable use of abbreviations. Make ensure that your abstract is as simple as that. Do not use any acronym there. Do not use any chemical formula. Do not use any abbreviations. Ensure that it has to be very simple. It has to be lucid. It has to be efficient. Do not complicate it. And very important is the failure to use a consistent verb tense within a given paragraph. Grammatical errors, the usage of verb tense is very important. Yes. And the most important is using the units, like as I've told you, right? It's often overlooked, mentioning as 10 past 7, 10 past 6, whatever. And percentage, representation of weight percentage or volume or whatever it is. It's very important. Representing of hours, minutes, and seconds. We always say HR, but it's actually to be represented as H. Seconds, we always say SCC, but it has to be represented as S. Minutes, people write it as M. It's not M, it's MIN. So these are something very important. Another very important thing which we use is the unacceptable repeated use of sentence commencing figure. This is a wonderful mistake which every one of us does. The figure 1 shows, figure 2 shows, figure 3 shows. This is not at all a good way of writing. Do not do that. Yes, the specific scientific and technical data under discussion should be the subject of the sentence and not the figure in which the data are represented. You have to represent your data, you have to discuss the data, and then you represent the figure in the data. Do not represent the figure first and represent the data followed by the figure. So this is something very important. Yes. Another very important thing which is given here. We showed, we analyzed, we demonstrated. Do not do that. This is very common mistake. We demonstrated, we hypothesized that, we postulated that, and we showed that, we evidenced. So please ensure that the personal pronouns are not used. Yes. So there are many things which we get into the focus, but these are some things which strike my mind and I included here. Now figures and tables should assist the reader, because many of us do not have patience. The reader do not have patience to read pages and pages of what is given. So you have to ensure that the figures and tables speak by itself, right? You have to summarize the data in the form of table. Collect the main points described in the text and summarize it. So your figure has to be a system snapshot. It has to be a conceptual diagram. Your figure should be legible. It should be instructive and adequately labeled and titled. Very important. When you're making a graph, ensure that you have a SEM. With SEM, standard error mean. There are many papers which will have a bar diagram, but they will not have a standard deviation, or they will not be having a standard error mean. Or you will be having a microscopic image without a scale bar. So these are very few things which needs to be concentrated or focused upon. The conclusion is very important. As I told you, many of the readers will have only the ability to look into the abstract, introduction, and conclusion. So how effective your conclusion should be? Usually avoid these words. See, basically we say the protocol which you have given is cost effective. How much is cost effective? What is the cost? What is the meaning of cost effective? For me, cost effective should be 5 rupees. For you, cost effective can be 500. For some other person, cost effective should be 50,000. So usage of the word cost effective. There's no cost mentioned. So avoid using cost effective. And you say that it's very easy to represent. So maybe for you it's easy because you've done so many times, but it's not true. Who has proved that it is really easy? And you say the large area, but the photography may large area is not shown. There's no picture to prove the area. Or you can say techniques. Or is it a technique which you have used, or is it the method which you have modified out of the technique? And when somebody says if you're working something on a biodiversity or environmental or green process, then people say this is how it is. But how do you prove that it is environment friendly? Because you have to prove the end product is actually natural or organic. So these are the things which is very important to understand. Coming to citations and references contains only the, see, the biggest problem of citing, we refer 10 articles and we cite 100 references. This is very common among students. What we actually focus, we only take 10 particular papers and we only refer 10 papers. But in reference section, we take hundreds of papers. So, but ensure that you cite only papers that are in your book. Use the best and most up-to-date literature, which means we always say there's one criteria for writing the references. Do not use references beyond 5 years. Suppose you're doing a research, you're publishing a paper right away. Take only research articles which are from 2015 to 2020. Do not use, if it's a standard thing, like for example, when we're working on DNA, or when something is standard thing which you are representing, then taking an outdated data, taking an old data, representing is, yes, it works. But when you're working on something which is some researches where already so many things have progressed, So do not waste your time in taking old data. Do not take outdated data. Ensure that you take data which are only 5 years old. All your references may be max 10 years, but stick most of the references, 60% of the references which you quote are within 5 years. Make sure it is relevant and do not overdo it. Yes, avoid self glorification. We have this thing, like how a girl may uses a cosmetic to enlighten herself, the makeup. So do not over glorify it, and it must be correct, and complete citation information should be included. And avoid archival works too hard to get technical report or obscure publications. Should conform to style of publication. Very important thing. And most publications are strict about this. So you have to restrict to the particular journal style, the publication style which that particular journal needs. Now the reference style, what are those reference styles? So what are those reference styles which we will look into it? Use of etal. People have the habit of writing et.al. Comma. So you have the habit of writing et space al dot. And if it's two authors, no etal. Represent the first author name and represent the second author. The brackets could be either this bracket or this bracket. In some people, they feel these are very small thing. I don't want it to focus on. Whether reviewer rejects the paper only for these reasons. Because the reviewer doesn't know the study. He doesn't know what is your study. So he says, in somewhere you use this parenthesis, in somewhere you use this parenthesis, then he says it's not structured effectively. So then extensive use of few references. This is to be avoided. Just because you like the particular paper or just because you have used that particular references all the time, or you wanted to self-cite yourself. For example, in all the time you quote, suppose I publish a paper and I am quoting my previous reference. Everywhere I write Indumati et al, Indumati et al, Indumati et al. Then, which means, so you avoid using extensive use of only few particular references. And avoid using only your reference. Yes, you need more citations. I agree. We need to have our own citations. We need to quote our own papers. We need to quote our guide's paper. But you should not do that more. And citation, suppose if it's like, you have 10, then 20 to 30. And if it's only 2, then you have to put it at like 30 to 33, 22, 23. Avoid repeated references. And avoid having no proper citations. And not using the first authors first. So these are few things which are reference style. This is something very interesting, very, very interesting. Please look into this particular slide very keen. See the references, the beauty, this is the actual practical part of the references, making sure that no one has already written your thesis. Now what we do, papers found on online database. So we have so many papers which are found on online database. We collect a folder. Yes, we collect a folder and we keep into it. Okay. Now, from that, you are just choosing paper found from other papers reference list. So suppose this is the paper. Out of these all papers, this is one paper which you feel very interesting and of your choice. Now you take this paper. What am I doing now? From this particular paper, we are choose back references, and those back reference papers I've collected. Now I've taken this particular paper, and from this I've chosen back reference papers, and these are the back reference paper I've collected. Now here you have the paper your advisor wrote 10 years ago. Why are you doing this? Because he's your guide, he's your advisor. You have to take your guide's paper also, right? So from that you have taken 2 more references. Okay. Now let's get down to this particular flowchart. Now out of these 5 references which you have taken from this paper, then you feel this paper is interesting. From this you take these 5 references. Again you file this particular paper is interesting, you take 4 references from here, and you find this paper is interesting, you take 5 references from here. Again in this particular session, this is how you choose. Okay. Done? Okay. Then when you come here, the papers your advisor had forgotten to tell you about. Okay. The beauty now comes to conclusion. This is what we've been doing. This is what everyone are doing. The beauty is just see the conclusion part. The total, and your guide is very specific. What does your guide says? Do not have soft copy. I don't want any soft copy. Have a printed version. How many of you have all the references in the printed version of spiral binded version? The references which you have chosen for your PhD, how many of you have the printed version of the references? Almost 50%, almost all. How many of you have the hard copies of the references that you have? No, you don't have hard copies, you only have soft copies, then you're lucky. Does your force you to print the hard copy references? Yes or no? Yes?
Only for few important papers we take the printout, otherwise
only for
soft
few
copies.
important papers. Yes, that's good. But there are some practices where now since technology is improving, guides are also changing according to the technology. But then in olden days, like because of the less technology or something, every guide prefers hard copy of it. Okay, or you have a soft copy. Let it be like the soft copy. So total reference of photocopied or the soft copy which you have would be 248. Now, from those total references of 248 papers, what the papers actually we read would be 107. Okay. And from those 107 papers, what a student have actually understood it will be 5. And from those 5, what papers actually that is relevant to your thesis will be like very much of focus to us. So those focus papers that we take, that will be of 2 papers, that very, very much relevant to your thesis, very much relevant to your thesis. But then the reference which will be included in thesis will be 246. Don't you think this is what the practical thing which is happening in our life? Yes. Do you have any controversy on this particular slide, or do you agree with this? Because we don't refer all the references. What is there? This is the practical thing. Do you agree with this? Yes? No? Do you have any controversial thoughts into it? You can tell us. Tell me. No? Are you all there? Don't you think that's a fact in many? See, do not think about you, or do not think only about IIT and speak. I'm just generalizing this as a PhD student. Don't you think it is yes, true? Can somebody give me answer? No, no problem. If your opinion differs, definitely. So if you're not convinced with this, no problem. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So let's get into the next slide. So this is all about how to represent the references, like reference style for a book, reference style for a journal. Now, getting into IIT, definitely you all should know this and you would be knowing it. So I'm just skipping this particular slide and getting into this one. So now finally what happens is the many research papers make your thesis. Okay, publish your first article, publish your second article, publish your third article, and all these articles are compiled together to form your thesis. Now this is something very interesting. This sometimes you have a high arguments which is being going on in Viva Voce. This is just for fun I did. This is not going to happen, but I don't believe I've ever seen a scientific paper defended quite as vigorously as this one, and this is actually the fact. When we submit a paper for review, the reviewers are become so stringent that getting a paper published nowadays is becoming a very difficult task. And then they post us a lot of queries. We try to address those. It's almost become a battlefield. Do you agree with this? It's almost become a battlefield. Yes, and finally, always the editors and reviewers win, and we lose the battle. But we are trying to win every single battle. Don't you agree with that? This is not almost like a battle that every reviewer comes out with hundreds of queries. Then we take effort to address those queries. We take effort to redo the experiments. We take effort to do it in a good way. Then we resubmit. Then the beauty would be whatever we have resubmitted, the review will not see if all those are met. Now the review will come out with something different. Suppose A, B, C, D are those queries which the reviewer raises. We spend 3 months of time and we ensure that all the reviewers' comments are met. And once you write all the reviewers' comments and finally you submit those with modifications, now your review will come out with new corrections. Have you experienced this? So you will think in your mind, इनको तो पहले बताया नहीं. He never told me all these before. So have you experienced that? He will come out with new points. He will come out with new corrections. So this is something, you get a lot of rounds of defend before your paper published or before your Viva was. Now the most important part, I hope I will be able to finish on time. I have another say 30-40 slides. Most important part in your publishing research paper are these 5 things: impact factor, citation index, ISSN number, ethics in research, and plagiarism. Yes, so please look into this particular cartoon. It's kind of depressing. We have spent 3 years on research paper and probably only 10 people in the world will ever read it. This is the fact, this is what is happening, and this is definitely we have to go with the pace. Yes, so let's now see about impact factor. You all know what is impact factor paper, what is the importance of impact factor, but still when we are submitting a paper, we have to ensure these 5 points plays a very, very important role in scientific writing. Because when you're writing it, you have to ensure that you publish in a good impact paper. You have to ensure that your citations are increased, because the jitni citations you have more, utna hi you have recognition. So you have to definitely ensure that you should get good citations. You have to publish in an ISSN number. You have to follow some ethics in research, and you should avoid plagiarism. So this is a very simple impact factor calculation. I know you all know how to calculate an impact factor, but if you do not know, I thought because I heard that there are some BTech MTech students also, for them I've included this particular slide. Basically an impact factor of the journal. Why you should have more citations? That is the answer is here. Basically the impact factor of the journal is calculated by the citations to the paper published in 1 year and the entire number of papers published in that year. So this is very important. See, in 1995 and 1996, if this particular journal is having so many citations, 34 citations in 95 and 32 citations in 96, and the number of papers published in 95 is 71, number of papers published in 96 is 72. So it's the average of these is going to become the impact factor. So what does the journal needs? The journal needs more paper to be published every year. Yes. So how they can improve publishing more papers? Instead of making it quarterly, they can make it bi-monthly. Yes, instead of making it bi-monthly, they can make it monthly, so that every month one issue comes out. Yes, and then it's going to improve. And then most important is the journal ensures that their papers are cited. So this is very important. Yes. So that is why whenever we are publishing an article and when we are submitting it to a journal, say ABC, ensure that particular journal's references are at least cited. Go to that particular, suppose you're submitting to a journal, say we can consider the same journal. You're submitting to the Journal of Clinical Immunology. Okay. Now you are submitting it to this particular journal. Try to see if you have any relevant articles to include in reference section of this particular journal and try to include. No harm in it. If it doesn't match your study, well and good. If not, okay. So this is how impact factor is calculated. Now citation index is very important. Citation index started in 1950s only. Now you also have something called as Web of Science, right? Science Citation Index SCI, or you have something called as the Web of Science. So citation indexes track references that authors put in bibliographies. So this is what it plays a very, very important role. So that is why people always say you have to publish a paper which is Scopus indexed. You have to publish a paper which has a Science Citation Index, SCI journals. You have to publish a paper which is having a good impact. You have to publish a paper. Earlier, people used to publish anything, the value with ICE value, and people say the impact of the paper is 5, impact of the paper is 7. Now it's not included. You are not supposed to publish anything with reference to IC value. It is very important that you publish a paper which is a Scopus indexed, which is having a Science Citation Index, and which is into the Web of Science. So this is very important. Only then you are a good researcher. Just publishing in any publications of no use is of no use. Okay. Yes, every student face this issue. Yes. Yes, before even I talk about it, every student has this issue and every guide does that. Do you agree? Yeah? Do you all agree? Yes. So the guide says that won't do, James. As my student, you need to make me a co-author. And cite, this is again very important because, being a guide, I have to improve my citations. If my own student did not cite my paper, how will the outsider select my paper? So it was like, that won't do, James. As my student, you need to make me as a co-author and cite at least 2 of my papers in every one of your publication, and then you go mad. Okay, what will I do now? So this is what it is. And the sad part of this scientist who have no citations. So the struggling scientist, please cite my papers. So this always happens, and now you will all know why citations are playing a very important role. Why citations makes good researcher, right? This is yet another very important, nice comic, ethics. We all have. Can you tell me one truth of your life? Any exam, let it be your schooling, let it be your college, let it be your PhD, pre-PhD examination, let it be any examinations. Have you copied in your examination? Have you copied in your examinations? Of course, I've copied. I've not literally copied, but I've at least asked for MCQs, or we would have done that in any part of our life. Have you done it? Whether it could be in your school, whether it could be in your college, whether it could be your master's or in your pre-PhD examinations. Have you tried to ask answers to your neighbors in the examination hall? Yes. Yes? No? So sincere students, all of you. Have you not done it even once? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So some of you, I can read your mind voice. I can read your mind voice. Of course, yes, but you don't wanted to put it outward. Yes. But this is not ethics, but we still do. So, why I included this particular thing is it's very important to maintain ethics. So sometimes in some ways while doing research or while doing anything, we tend to forget the ethics. So maintaining ethics in research is very, very, very important. Why ethics in research is important? A straightforward 4 different points. So the norms that promote aims of the research such as knowledge, truth, and avoidance of error. For example, prohibitions against fabricating, falsifying, or misrepresenting the research data, or publishing somebody else's, we have a lot of plagiarisms, we have a lot of retrieval of data coming up. Why even high laboratories, very standard laboratories, retrieval of their data comes because they feel that these data are misinterpreted, or they have just have one study and they are representing the same diagrams in many versions. So these are all the ethics which maybe today I'll get good papers, but tomorrow if somebody finds it and if my data is retrieved, I'm going to have a black mark. So following ethics in research is very, very important. Research often involves a great deal of cooperation and coordination among many different people. Teamwork. If I am a student, that doesn't mean I do everything. I need my colleague support, I need my friend support, I need other laboratory people support, I need my guide support, I need lab assistant support, I need even peon support. Do you agree with that? I am a researcher. You cannot have any ego. You need the cooperation and coordination with every single person. In different disciplines and institutes, ethical standards promote the value that are essential to collaborative work, such as trust, accountability, mutual respect, and fairness. Most important, to build public support for research. People more likely to fund research project if they are multi-institutional, or if you have multi-collaborators. When you have only a PI and you apply for fund, and you have a PI and co-PI and you apply for fund, it is different. Yes, if they can trust the quality and integrity of the research, and that comes only with multiple techniques, and that comes not with single laboratories. You definitely need a centralized facility of interdisciplinary studies or multiple collaborative partners or so on, and to promote a variety of other important moral and social values such as social responsibility, human rights, animal welfare, compliance with the law, health and safety. All these are very important, needs to be considered in your research. Yes. Okay, now this is just for fun. You have the person here who's reviewing your paper, and we stand like this. And finally, your paper gets accepted. This is not happening nowadays, it's just for fun. And this is another slide. You can correct my spellings and grammar, and we say, but not my ethics. I don't, it's my ethics is none of your business. Whether I do the research with ethics or not, you don't bother it. So this has become a practice, but it's wrong. You have to have some ethical principles. Now, there are also other deviations. You can look into the C, consent form. You can see this particular cartoon image, consent form. See how they are taking a consent from the person. So this is something very important. If I collect a sample from a person's body, suppose I take a tissue from a person's body, see, we work on hysterectomy samples and my students go for consent. So we don't even have the patience to explain the particular person who is donating the tissue to us. We only say, ये आपकी operation की procedure है, or you say, this is the procedure for your operations, you have to just sign. That's it. And the patient, bichara, doesn't know anything, and she or he signs. How many of us are really true to us to go to the patient, explain everything, have proper informed consent, go to them, read through it, and then thank them, take permission? Imagine if those people who donate the particular tissues, those human tissue samples are not available, then there's no research for today. So it's very important. Another very important thing. Here, this is a wonderful cartoon picture which I got. Always publish identical triplicate results. Yes, so these triplets are so nice, but then laboratory experimental triplets are always horrible. It's very difficult to get such triplets in. Do you agree? It's very difficult to get such triplet results in our in vitro experiments. Yes?
Yes, ma'am, true.
Yes.
We get one, we do the experiment in triplicate. We get one result here, the second one in different manner, third one in different manner, and to analyze what went wrong. Why is my triplicate not a triplicate? Then to analyze that, you have to forego your 1 week's sleep. Do you agree with me? Yes. You have to sleep, read, do the experiment in different manner, change your serial dilutions or change your weight volume ratios, change your optimal concentrations or change the flask. And finally, after we had one very funny thing happen in our lab. This is what actually happened. We completely repeated our experiment so many times and we didn't get good results. And one of my students came to me and we were trying to troubleshoot. The funniest and silliest part is at the end, we came to know that she did not add serum to the media at all. She got every time different results, and she was like very confident. I did this. See, what I'm trying to say is, we were breaking our heads in calculations, optimization, and all those things. Cell viability, all those things. Something is going wrong. What's going on? And she was very sure. And finally, she said, when we started doing the experiment, and it is she did not do it purposefully. We tend to, in a hurry, we tend to do very small mistakes. And she did not prepare the complete media. And what she was using all the way is a incomplete media. So why I'm trying to say this is sometimes the problems might be very small. Go down to the base and analyze. When we don't get results, that doesn't mean we are having some big issues or a big flaw in our experiments. The problem could be very small. So this is very important. This is again very important in research, in ethics. How many of the laboratories really wait till the triplicates are published and then till you get the proper results in all three technical replicates and biological. See, this is very important. Having a technical replicate and a biological replicate is very, very important. I will get a biological replicate because I have so many patients. I can get number of biological replicates. That doesn't mean because I get sample n is equal to 5 and I've done the experiment once. I've done for one particular result analysis of first patient, second patient, third patient, fourth patients, and fifth patients. And I put together all, and I cannot say that I've got a good results because the patients are varying, the age varies, their metabolism varies, their genetic makeup, their hereditary, everything varies, and I cannot just say do the experiment once from that particular patient and I say I'm publishing the data, which is unethical. You have to ensure you should not only have a biological replicate, but you have to ensure you also have a technical replicate. Many laboratories do not do that. The reason is because of money. They don't have sufficient funds. They don't have sufficient instruments. They don't have sufficient things. But if you wanted to really publish a good article, you have to be like cautious. You have to be very true to yourself. Then this is very important. Not informing a collaborator of your yes. This is very important. Not informing a collaborator of your intent to file a patent in order to make sure that you are the sole inventor. This is something which is unethical. Include a colleague as an author on a paper in return for a favor, even though the colleague did not make a serious contribution to the paper. Very important. Discussing with your colleague confidential data from a paper that you are reviewing for a journal. Do not do this. If you have got a paper to review, it's your paper. Sometimes confidentiality is very important in research. And finally, yes, this is also important, trimming outliers from the data set without discussing your response reasons in the paper. So this is not to be done. Yes, so these are some of the deviations, these are some of the ethics which is happening. Now, the most important ethics. Again, my dear students, I'm not representing this as you because I'm not representing this as you, I'm just representing a general PhD community. So you might be very sincere, you might be very true to yourself. This is happening. This is a general discussion of every PhD student. So what is he doing here? Boss is coming, discover something. So this is what happens. Sometimes in some laboratories, we keep working sincerely all the time. But in some places, we just sit while away, gossip, and then when our guide starts coming, we immediately act in such a way that we are engaged. Even many of my students have done this many a times, and I just ignore. I notice because if you are smart, your guides are smart enough, smarter than you. So we notice, but then we ignore. We notice a lot of things that our student does, but many a times we ignore because we've also been a student at one point of time, right? So using an inappropriate statistical technique in order to enhance. See, this is something very important. You would have done a chi-square t-test and you would have mentioned it as ANOVA just because you're copying it from that paper. So use a proper statistical technique which you have actually used and not from the paper. Conducting a review of literature that fails to acknowledge the contributions of other people in the field or relevant prior work. Stretching the truth on a grant application in order to convince reviewers that your project will make significant contribution to the field. Don't do that. Giving the same research projects to two graduate students. This is what universities does, but it's wrong. In order to see who can do it faster. So, they say, suppose if there's one university where two people come for a project, say student one and student two, both are given the same project because I suppose I'm doing this or any university does that. And I feel she is going to present her data in a different college and she's going to present the data in a different college. So I can check the reproducibility, I can check the repeatability. So let me give this because neither this particular university is going to know that this particular thesis is given to this college or neither this particular college knows that this particular thesis is given to this. Okay, you do this, nobody knows. But then there are ethics, you have to be true to your conscience. So these are very few things which ethics and research plays a very, very important role. Another important thing, overworking, neglecting, exploiting the graduate or postdoctoral students. This is very important. Some of the guides, I have, luckily I have not experienced any of the exploitations or any of the burdens during my PhD life, but I've seen people, I've seen my juniors, I've seen people from different places that they get into the, doctoral or postdoctoral studies, but guides exploit them a lot. Guides expect a lot. They make the student to work more than what is actually needed because just because you are my student, I have to exploit you to the core. Anything and everything you have to do for the guide. This is wrong. The guides, JC students have some ethics in research. Guides also have some ethics in research. And failing to keep good research records is a biggest flaw. Do not do that. If you are a good researcher, you should have your lab book. Anytime you get into the lab, you have to have your lab book. Many a times my student fails to make the recording, and I tell them I'm not considering this results unless and until they repeat it, note it, and then come to me. They have to repeat. This is the punishment I give, because it's very important. See, when you're reluctant in what your study is, today you may remember the study, but tomorrow you may forget it. So it's very important that you have to make the record. Failing to maintain research data for a reasonable period of time. This is always happens with the student. Do not do that. You have a data you stored, and when your guides ask you for the study which is done 2 years back, and even my students comes and says like, I'll have to, like, I don't remember, I have to search, I don't know where it got. Be very systematic, arrange everything in an orderly fashion, because documentation, we are not talking about it in this session, but documentation is equally important. Documentation is equally important in a scientific writing. Unless and until you don't maintain a proper documentation, you cannot be a good researcher, you cannot be a good scientific writer. So this is very important. And making derogatory comments and personal attacks in your review of author submission is bad. Promising a student a better grade for sexual favor, making significant deviation from the research protocol approved by your institution's animal care and use committees or institution review board for human subjects research without telling the committee on the board, not reporting an adverse event in a human research experiment, wasting animals in research and exposing the students and staff to biological risk in violation to your institutional biosafety rules. These are all something which you are not supposed to do. Rejecting a manuscript for publication without even reading it. This is something a saddest thing that's happening. We publish, we submit a manuscript and today, and before we take a breath, tomorrow it comes as rejected. So this is the saddest part of every researcher, the rejection of the manuscript without even reading it. And sabotaging someone's work, which is bad, stealing supplies, books of data, rigging an experiment so you know how it will turn out, making unauthorized copies of data, papers, or computer programs. Yes. Now look into this cartoon. You work in a lab, so you're some kind of scientist. That doesn't mean that. Just because you work in a lab, people have a thinking that I'm also a scientist. No. So be modest, be down to earth, be friendly to your colleagues, be friendly to your guides, be friendly to every ambience. Think that everyone are equal. Right. Now submitting the article. Okay, you have come to the end now. Yes, I've decided my study. I've done the work. I've got the result. I've written the manuscript. Now I have to submit. Selection of journal is very, very important. You have to be very specific in selecting the journal. Read the aims and scope of the journal. Yes. Think about your target audience and level of your work. Yes. And think that do you have a realistic chance of getting accepted in that journal. You have written a paper for 3 impact and you wanted to publish in 7 impact. Any number of times you're going to submit into a journal which is of 7 impact, it's going to get rejected. Follow the guidelines and the notes for authors. How many of you really reads everything which is given in journal style? We feel bored, we feel reluctant, we feel lazy to read the instructions given in the journal. Do not do that. This is something very important. An article once submitted in one journal, wait for its suggestion. What the student does is we submit an article today in this particular journal and we also submit in that particular journal. If this accepts, then we retrieve it. Do not do that. Wait for the decision. And now, a quick, simple strategies to publish in a better journal. Address the same questions with additional methods. For example, you're doing an RT-PCR study. Okay, you're doing some in vitro experiments. Where you're doing some in vitro experiments in cell, justify the study with RT-PCR. Justify the study with protein at protein level also. Do a growth factor study, do an ELISA, do a Western blotting. So whatever all methods you can justify with additional experiments, do that. Reanalyze your sample with a different or more complex methods. Develop a fancy technology. Collaborate with a statistician. Statistical analysis is very important. People don't do any statistical analysis. We just do an Excel sheet, we just do an SD, and we include all the statistical tools which we have even never come across. Do not do that. And few smaller studies. Yes, collaborate with experts in the field. Look for a journal with a perfect scope and check where your competitors publish. Submit to a journal with much higher impact to get reviewer attention. Now the author's priorities for journal selection. Impact factor, reputation, access to target audience, overall editorial standard, publication speed, very important. That doesn't mean today you publish a journal and that particular journal is going to take 1 year to review. You will never get your PhD because you have set of criteria that you have to have minimum of 2 to 3 papers which are published. So it's very important to understand the publication speed is equally important. International coverage and open access publishers. Yes. Then marginal qualifying factors. So this which is on your left side are the key determining factors. There are also some marginal qualifying factors like experience as a referee, track record of it, quality and color illustrations, and service evidence. These are all the very important things. Now online submission, everything is now become online submission. So many publishers now offer a completely electronic submission, right? So article submitted online and all of the review procedure happens online. So speeds up the editorial process and it's invaluable for authors in low-income countries. Yes. This is a very important slide. This is how a peer review is going to take place. Once we submit a paper, okay, you will be very happy. You know, the moment you're happy, you go to the sky. Sky is the limit for your happiness. In no time, you fall back on ground. How many of you have experienced it? It's been years of study I've done, and it's been years of effort I've done. I've submitted a paper, and I'm just trying to be happy, and I get a next mail where your paper is rejected. How many of you have got experienced it? In no time, you go to sky and you fall back on it. Are you agreeing with me? Yes. Have you experienced it? Yes? No? Are you all there? Got bored? Give me last 5-10 minutes. Yes. You submit a paper. You get a confirmation of the result. Then you get an initial decision by the editor as rejected. So luckily, if the editor is not rejected, then from editor it goes to the reviewer. Now the editor will accept the paper. The editor will assign a reviewer. Now the particular reviewer will start reviewing the invitation. Then he will accept the invitation. The most saddest part is none of the reviewer will accept the invitation anytime. Today I get a paper for reviewing. Okay, I've got this paper for reviewing. Okay, done. I keep doing my work 1-2 months. Again, the reviewer will get a reminder from editor saying that we have sent this paper, please accept. Then I read the mail, I ignore. So this is what is practical part which is happening, because the reviewer feels I have loads of work. Why should I accept this now? Let me accept it later. But the reviewer has to think that this, even at one point of time, I was also a student. I was also a student who had published a paper. I was also a student where I communicated a paper, and I was also waiting for the reviewer's result. I was also waiting for the reviewer's comments. If this particular thought comes in every reviewer's mind, the review process would definitely speed up. Why the students are suffering? Because the review process is not speeding up. Whether the editor or the reviewer just thinks that I'm overloaded with my works, let the student wait. But they don't think that even I was a student once upon a time. When I was a student, I had the same problem. So let the student be happy. It's years of work. The review process will definitely go faster. Many journal review process halts, and student has to wait for 6 months to 1 year to know the decision. And unfortunately, many a time, even after 1 year, the student will get a decision, the paper is rejected, which is the heights of frustration the student gets into. And that is how the student lose interest in research. So this is something that trend has to change. Okay. So the reviewer accepts the invitation, reviews are completed. Either the reviewer can accept the paper, never it happens in a single go, or they come out with major revisions, or they come out with minor revisions, or anything, or they reject the paper. Now, then the notification from editor goes to the author. Then the author has to either revise the paper and resubmit it. Then we have to check the revision. The revision has to be reviewed again. Either it could be accepted, or it could be rejected, or it could become for a second revision, so on and so forth. And then finally, if the paper is accepted immediately, well and good, the paper is sent for publication. Now, as a student, now knowing that the reviewer will take a lot of time, as a student, you should have some questions in mind. What are the questions? When I submit my paper, suppose you're submitting a paper to me, and I am the referee, I am reviewing your paper. What will be the questions in my mind? You predetermine the questions and answer those questions in your manuscript. So that will reduce the time period. So what are the questions in referee? Is the subject relevant to publication? The domain of the subject will be checked by the reviewer. Depth of the treatment, the degree of the specialization. Yes, then describe the quality of the writing. You assess yourself. No, ask, are you getting my point what I am saying? See, when any time that you publish a paper, or I can say you submit a paper, the reviewer will judge. Before even the reviewer judges, you judge yourself for these questions. That these are the points which reviewer will look into my paper. These are the points which reviewer will see, and either he will accept or reject it. So let me check. If I am a referee, if I am a reviewer, let me check if these points are met. In that way, you can avoid 50% of the rejections. Being yourself as a stringent reviewer and analyzing your paper. So describe, is the message clear? Is it style exciting or boring? If it's a good flow, or if it's logical, or if its argumentation is well addressed, if it's well organized, do we have any grammatical error, or is it accessible to the audience for reproducibility? Answer all the questions and ensure all these queries are met. Then, this is very important. Nowadays, every universities are working with NAC accreditations. So it is very important to understand that there are these columns where NAC will accept only publications which are Scopus Index or Web of Science Index or any of these. So ensure that you do not go and publish any paper which are not Scopus Index. Do not go and publish papers which is not in Scopus or not in Web of Science. It is of no use. It is just wastage of time and getting into the papers into the dustbin. So please do not do that. And you have to be very careful that UGC approval list. There are many journals which have been removed. So please ensure, go to UGC website, ensure those journals which are removed from UGC approval list of journals. Now coming to the last 5 minutes of your time. So this is all about, see, everyone are students. That is the reason in this particular session I have not included how to write a paper. Because how to write a paper, I cannot say you are into A field, somebody else into a B researcher, somebody else is working on C concept, somebody else is working on D concept. So nobody can suggest you how to write a paper. But everybody can say what are the common points. So I've just only focused here in general. I'm not talking about any specific research, and that is how hope I've given some informations which you need to be careful, which are very small but plays a very important role. Now preparing a scientific poster is my last 5 minutes. What is a scientific poster? See, everyone participates in poster presentation. Participation is equally important, but winning is also important. Suppose if you present poster 5 times, you should at least win once. So this is to be kept. So a form of scientific expression. It's a summary of the research what you do. It's visually augmented discussion or interaction. And at conferences, viewers come to you. Yes, or you can invite viewers and you can present the poster. So giving some new information into it, you have to ensure that the characteristic sections are properly aligned and represented. And it is very important that appearance of content varies by field or lab. Where are posters used? Yes, on-campus poster, off-campus poster, in conferences. Yes. So how will I present my project? This is something very important. How will you present your? See, presenting in a PowerPoint, presenting, writing a thesis, writing a manuscript, presenting in a PowerPoint to your guide, presenting your study. See, we have journal clubs every week. So presenting to your guide, that is different. Presenting your thesis, that is different. Presenting your manuscript, that is different. And presenting a paper in a conference, which is different, and presenting a poster in a conference is different. And everything, the base is scientific writing. Yes, so it's very important to understand. So what are the very important things that you have to consider when you're making a poster presentation? Represent you and your mentor. This is very important. Demonstrate expertise, demonstrate attention to detail. Practice public speaking. Yes, even if your data is low or if your data is less, you have only few results. But when you're confident, when your body language is good, when you're confident, when your communication skill is good, and when you're presenting the particular study with confidence, then the audience attention is grabbed towards you and not the next poster. So it's very important. Learn about most current results in the field. Suppose somebody asks you, okay, what are the different similar studies you have come through? No, I have only gone through 2-3 studies, and because I'm an initial researcher, I'm yet to do. Don't say that. Referencing, you can do any number of referencing. You should have answers. And again, ask questions. If you are a reviewer, if you are a referee, and somebody else is presenting a poster, what are the questions that a reviewer will ask me? How should I prepare? Mark your, see, that is why I've been insisting the biggest take home message is ask questions in everything that you do. Put yourself as a guide, put yourself as a reviewer, put yourself as an editor, put yourself as a poster presenter, and put yourself as a poster judge. Question. Ask questions, note down the questions, and write the answers for every single question. And deeper understanding of the topic is very important. Opportunity for teaching and learning. This is, yes, it is the biggest opportunity for teaching and learning, right? Poster presentation. That is why every PhD student should take a chance of presenting a paper or presenting a poster. Sharing of ideas and create collaborations. This is more important when you are presenting a poster, when you are presenting a paper in a conference. You are creating more networking, social networking, collaborations in the paper is very important. And you should have an idea of who is your right audience. So researchers in your field, researchers in related field, and most importantly, there will be even uninterested pass-byers. Suppose I am a layman. You have to present your poster. This is something very important. You have to present your poster in such a way, even a non-researcher of your field, even somebody who is a layman should come to you to look into the poster. So that is what is grabbing the attention of the people. And help others to conclude what they should conclude. Suppose I am presenting a poster, and when I present a poster, when you come to me, when you're looking into my poster, and when you go, I should allow you to conclude what? Yes, I should allow you to conclude that you feel that I'm a good scientist. I'm competent enough. I'm sharp. I'm intelligent. I'm confident in what I say. I'm well prepared. I'm interested in presenting, and I'm engaged with audience. And I have a great future colleague, possible collaborations. Yes, he can be collaborating with us, and he or she is very professional. So these are the things most matters. more than the content in the poster. Trust me, more than the content. People are not going to look into what is your abstract or what is your introduction, what is your methodologies. They are only going to look into if your poster looks good, if your poster is lucid, if your poster is like, elegant, if your poster is looking decent enough, and if your poster is professional and it's not overcrowded. I'm going to show you a few posters which are totally overcrowded. Avoid text in your posters. Yes, so poster presentation is a subset. You will not be presenting the whole project. Present work that fits in the presentation fine. Make titles that reflect sub-story. Include your pertinent intro and methods. And one project can be multiple abstracts or presentations. Sections of poster content everyone knows. See, there are two people over here. You can see the cartoon. There are two people over here. I'm not sure in which category I do fall. There's one category where you speak and people are like boring and dull, no fun, no humor, no color, no interest. There's another category where people get attention. There's full of fun, full of humor, full of color, and captive audience. So I really do not know which category I fall, but this happens always when we present something. You have to think in such a way that your people usually talk as I, but people should talk as you. This is more important, and you know what are the contents. This is very important. A structured poster. You should have a proper column of abstract, then your introduction, which should include the purpose, hypothesis, and goals. Then you have to have a second column, the poster size. You have a methods, results, and then you continue your results, discussion, conclusion, reference, and acknowledgement is very important. Do not use too many fonts. See, just see this particular slide. How does it look? Don't you feel aversion towards this slide? Because I've used all fonts in this. So you have to choose any two fonts. See, the common fonts combinations are given over here. So do not choose too many fonts in your presentations. Choose any two fonts which subsequently matches with each other. It's very important. See how it looks. Can you see the poster full of words? Who's going to have patience in reading so many things? Do not write pages and pages in your poster. It's of no use. See this particular poster. This when even if it's going to be a good study, even if I have written my entire study, okay, tomorrow I present this data, nobody will even come to me because I feel, the face reaction changes despite you being a good researcher, despite your research will be good. Just because you're too much overcrowded with your presentations, this is not going to work. See this? I can see. Yes, I know what I've written. I can see. Even others has to see. Are you getting my point? I can see. I know everything what I've written. I've written introduction. I've written questions. See, I have abstract. I have introduction. I have questions. I have hypotheses. I have methodologies. I have results. I have discussion. I have everything what you said. Do you think it's a good poster? Absolutely not. I give 0 mark to this particular poster because there's nothing. Full of words. Try to reduce the number of words in the poster and try to represent more by means of figures and tables and graphical representations. This is very important. Not do's and don'ts. Not poster rarely needs abstract. Yes, because you're already submitting abstract. So do not start with abstract in your poster. Text dissolves to intimidating, boring gray color. Yes, too small and too much cramped. This is also again, it's cramped. Captions not aligned with the figures. So many other errors are there. Now referencing, this is how you make a reference. Acknowledgements, this is how you give the acknowledgements. Using the color effectively. Please choose a color combination. This is very important. Do not choose a blue color and do not choose a pink color, which is like, contradictory. You have to choose a color which are very pleasing. You have to choose a color which are matching. So please ensure the color combinations in the poster is very effective. Posture. I cannot just sit like, any ways. You have to be relaxed. Some people have the habit of either doing this way, or some people have the habit of biting your nails. Some people show the nervousness by a straight posture. People have the habit of straight, we can see that you are afraid. Do not, even if you are afraid, ensure that your body language is eased off. We should not know that you are afraid. So be relaxed, avoid excessive movements. Yes, face the audience. Always people have the habit of if you're looking into the poster, suppose see, this is my poster. Okay, I have a habit of just looking into the poster. I keep reading. I don't turn towards you at all. Then the audience will move off. So ensure that intermittently you show the results, you talk to the audience. You show the results, you talk to the audience. And stand on both feet. This is very important. Somebody have the habit of just, standing on one feet and then keeping your other feet. Stand on both feet. Have the body posture. Don't lean. Some people have the habit of leaning towards the poster and then say. And ensure that your arms are relaxed with movements. So that you show them, you greet them, you smile. Have a good face language and have a good body language. Trust me, these things matters a lot in judging the best poster. Even if your work is too good. Yes? Practicing, very important. Finish early enough to practice. Make sure that you practice, develop 5-minute presentation. Know the first sentence. Do not see and start the first sentence. So whenever somebody comes to you, when you're addressing a poster, start the session by looking into them. Do not start the first session by looking into the poster. So always ensure the first 2 minutes or first 1 minute, what you should talk is very important. And what to say for each figure. This is very important. Do not drag anything. Prepare. When you have a figure, this is the point which I have to say for first figure. This is the point which I have to say for second figure. This is the point which I have to say for third figure. Prepare yourself. Do not be overconfident or do not be too underestimate yourself. So transitions between the figures are very important, and what to point at each figure is also very important. So this is how you have to stand always towards your left. If you don't have this thing, then you can show your right, but ensure that always you are towards your left. See, in this first slide, this particular girl do not have the facility to show towards her left, so she is showing towards her right. But then it's very important. What makes a good poster? Please look into it. Very important. Yes. Kindly read it up or take a screenshot. Word counts is important. Text is clear. Important informations are readable, and it should be short, precise, and drawing the attention of the readers. Use bulletins, use numberings, use headlines, and use effective graphics, use colors, use fonts. Do not overcrowd with sentence. Nobody are interested to read the sentence. Do not make, neither speak too much nor write too much. When you're presenting the poster, ensure that your words should be less when you speak and words should be less when you write. Do not speak like me, how I'm doing. That's going to bore the audience. Consistent and clean layout is very important. As I showed you, overcrowding layout, even if your study is like going to be a cell paper, even if your study is going to be a cell paper, audience will not stay if it's going to be overcrowded. Includes acknowledgement, your name and institution's affiliation. And finally, I'm coming to the last slide. Hello everyone, are you in? Yes, this
Yes,
last
ma'am.
this
Yes, ma'am.
presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. And this is something, a very lovely cartoon which I love to show you all. And this is a fact. Somebody is coming and she's asking, excuse me, is this the conference on improving student attention? You can see, please pay attention to look into every student what they does. This particular first person is sitting and dreaming or sitting and sleeping. He's literally sleeping. She's so fond of making up herself, having a coffee and dreaming about anything, reading a newspaper, and this guy is so funny. Yes, he's literally showing something, and all last benchers have almost slept or trying to sleep in different postures of, or they're doing some workouts, they're doing some yoga, whatever it is. And this is what the conference hall. And the topic of this particular conference is improving students' attention. And you can see what exactly the students are doing. Yes. So this is the fact, this is the beauty. And many a times speakers feel that they have to grab all attention, but that doesn't happen. Students are in their own world. So thank you so much for your kind attention. And it's really a great pleasure. And if I'm sorry if I've taken an additional 10 minutes of your time. And thanks a lot for your patience, listening. And it's very important to be a good listener, because I conclude my statement by saying you have to be a good reader, and a good reader becomes a good listener. Good listener becomes a good writer, and good writer becomes a good researcher, and good researcher becomes a good person. Because when you are a good researcher, what happens is you should have your sound body and sound mind. When you have a sound body and sound mind, this together is going to give you good health. And good health will give you good happiness, and good happiness is going to take your life longer. We will stay longer. So imagine being a good researcher, you are increasing your lifespan also. So with this, I conclude, and thank you so much for your kind attention, and I'm ready for queries. And I would like to emphasize one important thing. Another take-home message which my dad teaches me from my childhood. If you are, this is an advice not as a researcher, this is an advice not as a scientist, this is an advice as a human being. For you to become successful being in any profession, you have to have three things: HMT: health management, money management, and time management. If any of this goes wrong, you will not become successful. So being a good researcher, it is very important that you have to take care of your health, you have to take care of your money, because you're spending, sometimes we need to spend for few things, and you should ensure every time is precious. Because once the time is lost in your PhD time, it's not going to come. So health, money, and time. HMT management becomes very, very important. That is going to give you all success in life. And all the very best for your research. Stay happy. whatever you do, stay happy. Do not regret for anything that has happened, because what has happened yesterday, you think of today and you're going to spoil your tomorrow, is of no use. So all I would like to say is stay happy, keep smiling. That is the only medicine that is there in our life, natural gift of God. So your experiment goes wrong, it's okay. Relax. Have a coffee, stay relaxed, and ensure, have confidence. Keep confidence in yourself, saying that everything goes all right tomorrow. And finally, really, this is going to be the final statement. We all know what are the types of vitamin. Yes, fat soluble and water soluble vitamin. I would like to introduce one vitamin in your life, vitamin H. Vitamin H is hope. H stands for hope. Do not lose hope on yourself. You would be the best judge for yourself. Nobody can judge whom you are. You can start loving yourself. You only know your inherent potential. You only know your innate ability. You only know what you are. So please be proud of what you are today and do not lose hope and confidence. With this, I conclude. Thank you so much and open for questions.
Hi, ma'am. Thank you for the wonderful talk. It was very informative, first of all. We got a lot of practical tips, and a lot of our queries were cleared regarding citation index or the impact factor, and you kept the talk very lively. So, thank you once again for the great talk. And yeah, we would like to open the platform for some questions, if any.
Yeah.
So actually, I have a question, ma'am. So it's
Yeah.
regarding the English, actually. For example,
Have
some people.
I just a second? Have I stopped? Have I stopped sharing the screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Because I wanted to see you all. Please tell me.
Yes, ma'am. So it's about regarding the English. For example, some people say to use big words or like five terms, but
Not at all.
that reduces the readability. So
No,
just
Ankita,
want.
definitely not. See, science is an art, but there's nothing to do with English. Use very simple words. Do not search for vocabulary. Science is something where when you interpret science, ensure the simplest language what you do use is good. It doesn't have any grammatical error. When you wanted to use a present tense, use present tense. Wherever you wanted to use a past tense, as I said, like we demonstrated or we showed or we hypothesized. These are very small, few grammatical things which we need to focus on. But there's nothing. Science has nothing to do with English. You need not worry about it at all. If a person or if a particular manuscript is getting rejected in a journal for your English, you reject that particular journal and go ahead with it happily. Ensure that there's no grammatical error in science. That's all. English is not important. English is important when you communicate a particular research in the form of paper or poster. So when you're communicating your experiments, when you're communicating your results in the form of a paper or poster, English plays a very important role. If your communication skill is not good, if your English, because many places we communicate in English, right? Nobody has given us an opportunity to communicate with Telugu or Hindi or Tamil or whatever. So for communication, yes, communicating your research, English is important, but writing your research, not at all.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you for that.
Welcome.
So
I have one question.
Yeah.
Hello. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
It was a nice talk. I have a small question regarding the references. So, as you suggested that the references should be for the past 5 to 10 years.
Yes, 5 years. Basically, 5 years is great. But even 10 years, see, the standard references which you are using definitely has to have a lot of reference. But then, ideally, stick to first 5 years. If you don't find much articles, then 10 years. Do not go more than that. It doesn't make sense.
Okay. My question is like for if you are working on a problem which has been not carried out for the past 10 years or so, so you rarely find works that are connecting for the problem you are working on.
I would suggest if you find a problem which is not carried for 10 years, better you don't carry it. The reason is, the reason is there would be, see, as we are, like, now the world is so competitive. Like, whatever study you are doing right away in your lab, there will be hundreds of people, entire world, people are working on the same concept.
Yes.
So there is nothing that you are doing or we are doing something new. We are just trying to modify. So if you find a problem which is unaddressed for 10 years, definitely there should be some reason. So before you actually take up that as a research, try to analyze why. Sorry. try to analyze why this particular problem is not addressed. If it's having some issues, if it's not addressed, better you do not address. And if you feel really you have a grab into it, then try to do a pilot experiment. Just do a pilot study and see if it really works rather than actually putting your entire time into the synopsis and getting into it. Just do a pilot study and then get into it, because no people are so competitive that there can be no field excluded that this particular thing is not done and I am the one who's going to do it. So this is very important. Thank you for the
Yes,
question.
ma'am. Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
And the most important success for a speaker is like the audience who are there the first. And if the audience are still there till the end, then that is a successful thing for a speaker than a student. So I think at least 25 of you are still there, and thank you so much for staying. Anything else? I think Atira has my contact number, and I'll also give my email ID. And Miss Atira, you can please share the contact number to everyone. I'll be really happy to help you all in any time, any collaborations with IBM, or you have any suggestions, any future things that which I will be of use to you. I'll be really happy for that, and you can WhatsApp me and just give my space, and I'll ensure that I reply to you by WhatsApp or I'll reply to you by mail. So you can please feel free to share my mobile number to everyone, and kindly stay in touch of anything that I was not an IITian, or I was not a AIMS, or I was a very common woman. But then any help that could be from my side for the students, always, all time, doors are open. So please feel free to contact me any point of time. Even a smallest of help that I would be of use to you, most happy to help.
Sure, ma'am. Yeah, we will. So,
I
in
hope
the
the
interest of
time,
time, yeah. So,
yes.
if there are no more queries, yeah, I think we will. So first of all, I would like to give especially thank you for the wonderful talk, and then I want to thank Akshay also for coordinating with you.
I was about to say, I thank the entire doctoral committee team. The students are highly active to create such thing. But my sincere and personal thanks to Mr. Akshay Bhatt, because it's because of him I'm able to like stay in this platform today. And thanks Akshay, thanks Atira, thanks
No, not a
Akash.
problem.
And thank you, the entire team. You people are really doing wonderful. And all I would say is never give up. Anything might happen in life. Any experiment goes wrong. Anything goes wrong. Stay with the hope that you are in. Definitely success is going to follow you. And one day I'll be so happy to see you all. You're going to come out with flying colors as a huge scientist, and like we will contact, and you are so and so, and you are into this position as scientist, and that's the greatest happiness that's for us. So thank you so much to all of you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah.
Bye. All the very best.
Yes, ma'am. So we can officially conclude the seminar here. So, and wishing
Miss
happy
Atika,
weekend to
can I
everyone.
ask a favor? I just wanted a group photo of all of you, those who are before. I request you to please stay, the 20 of you. I just take I don't know if I'm able to click it, just group picture so that I can share it in my Instagram.
Sure, ma'am.
Can everyone switch on your videos?
Camera.
Please take a picture and share it in my WhatsApp.
So if you can.
And just let everyone before you click so that they'll be in a good pose.
Sure, ma'am. So 1, 2, 3, cheese. Yes, done, ma'am.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Good evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you, ma'am.